And now, Knock 2 Studios presents Common Censored.
Now, Democrats are so dumb. They're so dumb. They're so stupid that there's no doubt in my mind that they're going to find a way to be opposed to this, right? They're going to find a way to mental gymnastics their way into arguing that taxing the rich in order to fund middle-class tax cuts is somehow a bad thing, right? This is a bad thing for the average everyday American. This is what Democrats are going to do.
Issue tax cuts. Trump just issued tax cut proposals to Congress for the middle class. No taxes on tips or overtime. And then he wants to close the loopholes on the billionaires that own sports teams. Further solidified that he ended up working for the American people and not all these rich people. And he just exposed USAID for all of the money that they were wasting. Democrats are never going to win again. He is completing all of his campaign promises in less than a month. I've never seen nothing like this. How are we going to get him out of office? What are we going to do? He exposed USAID and the Treasury Department. They're sending $30,000 plus to different countries to make comic books. How can we explain all of this to our friends? It's like every time I feel like he's going to do something wrong, he does something right. Democrats are never going to win again if he keeps doing this. This is crazy. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel so we can break this down. We gotta talk about all this. CNN, you tricked me.
Yo, that's...
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Common Censored. Thanks for being here, all of you censored commoners. I'm Lord Sterling, and this is episode 338. RFK Jr. confirmed as HHS Secretary. Reciprocal tariffs activate. Canada 51st state talk gets serious, quote-unquote. Cash clears the committee. Trump and Putin negotiate as Trump secures a promise from Ukraine for $500 billion in rare earth stuff for the U.S. to pay us back for all the money that got laundered through that whole bullshit operation. Yeah, Tulip. Dude's tears were from laughing too hard, probably. Oh, man. Hope you guys thought that was funny. Over there with Black Conservative Perspective, Greg Foreman sharing some funny stuff as always. We also had the USS Harry Truman collide with another cargo ship off the coast of Egypt. That, all kinds of other crazy stuff to get to today. Make sure to join us Monday through Friday, 6:45 p.m.-ish Eastern Time as we cover all the crazy clown world clusterfuck chaos that now is 2025. Use hashtag Common Censored and hashtag InfoInfantry where applicable. When you share the show, you can find us on X at Lord Sterling _. We're also on Truth Getter, Gab, Minds, and come join us on our Discord, the Common Censored Think Tank Brain Bank, as we share resources and have some fun over there. Thanks to our new followers over on Rumble. Appreciate you guys. Links to all of the sources that we cover today will be posted in the video description. on Rumble after the video, and also in the replies under the X broadcast post as well. Mama Mac will be adding some timestamps to all that info too. So if you're watching this later on and need to maximize the efficiency of your time and focus and attention, click on down there. Find the topics that interest you and jump right to the point in the show where we talk about those topics. Thanks, Mama Mac, and throw Mama Mac some love over at alplama.com, your new herbal health guru. If you want to support the show directly, you can hit up our link tree at Common Censored. We also read Rumble rants. If you want to rant throughout the show, we will make your comments known. Disclaimer. Views expressed on Common Censored are only opinions. Assume everything we say is false and research for yourself. We're not giving medical, legal, or financial advice. The only advice we are giving is think for yourself. Question authority. Think for yourself. Question authority. Boom! Oh man, Jay Monty says, my first deployment, the carrier hit a tugboat. Second deployment, the carrier got stuck on a sandbar. This stuff just can't be hidden now. Makes sense. Makes sense. Monty, good to see you. Let's jump into the news for today. So this was from Greg's video. Trump approval rating skyrockets to all-time high as demon rat outrage against USAID cut backfires from a couple days ago. Check it out. If you want, link will be in the description. It's a good video. But big news for today. Maha RFK Jr. confirmed as HHS secretary with a 52-48 vote. Mitch the Glitch McConnell, Cocaine Mitch Turtle Boy over here is the only Republican to vote no. What a loser. I'm actually really surprised that this went off without a hitch, that we actually got RFK Jr. to be the HHS secretary. Oh my God. These people just voted to incriminate themselves, basically, because I guarantee you they're all tied to Big Pharma in one way or another. Oh man, this is the beginning of a really good thing, I think. Time to clean up the food, time to clean up the water, to clean up the medicine. I can't even believe it. I can't believe that this happened. That's right, Ed, we need cash now. He's cleared the committee at this point, so he's next on the block, and it seems like we will have victory. I was reading a day or two ago that we were going to need the tiebreaker J.D. Vance vote for Robert F. Kennedy Jr., but we didn't even get to that point. How is this possible? I don't know, but it's awesome. It's awesome. I imagine there were threats being levied behind the scenes. You will vote for RFK or you will be primaried and arrested. Probably stuff like that. We know. We have dirt on you. We have dirt. You put him in or it comes out. That's what I'm guessing, because there's no other explanation for this. The Senate confirmed Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as the new Secretary of Health and Human Services Thursday with a vote that saw nearly unanimous Republican support. However, one rhino, the turtle, chose to stand against the will of his constituents and the direction set by President Trump. I was listening to some analysis of this earlier too, and they were saying he used to be the Republican leader. It used to be his job to make sure that everybody got in line to vote for the Republican nominees. But when he's not leader, different rules apply to him. He doesn't need to go along with the party now, even though that was his whole job, a significant part of his job previously, getting everybody in line. They were saying this is probably the first year that he hasn't voted for all of the Republican nominees. So, not much of a shock, though, because he's a turtle scumbag. 52-48. Can't believe it. Monumental win. So good. So good. This is amazing. We have 2 votes today. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for Secretary of HHS, as well as Brooke Rollins for Secretary of Agriculture. Did we get results on Rollins yet? I haven't heard about that specifically, but George is excited about this. Let's take a little look at this clip here. Time to finish the job. His dad and uncle.
For 19 years, I prayed every morning that God would put me in a position to end this calamity. This is a spiritual journey for me. I reached my decision through deep prayer, and I asked myself, what choices must I make
I thought I was looking at a different window.
to maximize my chances to save America's children and restore national health? I felt that if I refused this opportunity, I would not be able to look myself in the mirror, knowing that I could have saved lives of countless children. President Trump has told me that he wants this to be his legacy. The most unifying theme for all Americans is that we all love our children. Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country and our children is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other.
Boom. Is that true, Smelling? Commodore McGroin in the house. That's funny. Mitch the bitch Rhino strikes again. That's right, Biggs. At least his strike didn't have any effect on the outcome of this situation this time, as opposed to, not funding candidates we needed in certain states like Arizona and Alaska and things like that. It's just general scumbaggery. So we have an op-ed by Wayne Allen Root, The Red Pilling of America. With RFK Jr. confirmed at HHS, a man with my exact views on COVID, jib jabs, deadly things, and the crimes of Dr. Ouchie and Big Pharma is now in charge. Now let's see if anything changes. I don't know if we could really read this on YouTube, but it's a good little op-ed from Wayne Allen Root, so I'll have it linked in the chat or in the video description afterwards if you want to hear about that. You pretty much get the gist from the title, though. In other news, Senate's Maha Caucus readies legislation as RFK Jr. is confirmed. They've already got things ready to go. Throughout the confirmation process, Kennedy focused on the need to address nutrition and food systems to improve the country's overall well-being, a reframing of the usual health policy debates in Congress. These fuckers, man, they were trying to get rid of vitamins and minerals just years ago. Do you guys remember Codex Alimentarius? Shit is crazy, man. Let's see if I could find, it looks like it's been scrubbed from YouTube, this particular video, but Rima Labo, the wife of General Stubblebine, who worked in like black ops type shit and was working on projects to have super soldiers who could walk through walls and crazy stuff like that. His wife, Dr. Rima Labo, was over there exposing this thing called Codex Alimentarius, which was like a UN plan to outlaw vitamins and minerals worldwide. So we went from this, with them trying to sabotage our health openly, to, having the exact opposite now and hopefully fixing a lot of this
Let me
stuff.
tell you
I got a
about
minute of
Codex
this.
Alimentarius.
Codex and Nutricide.
Let me tell you about Codex Alimentarius. Let me define it for you. Let me help you understand the enemy. And let me assure you that absolutely nothing that I'm going to tell you is exaggerated, is interpolated, or is imagined. Everything I'm going to tell you is documented. And a great deal of it is documented on my website, which is www.healthfreedomusa, one word,
Very weird.
healthfreedomusa.org. Let me back up and tell you that I've been watching Codex come toward us for about the last decade.
Yeah.
And I've been watching the votes in Congress, which, God help us, is our bastion of support and protection against Codex, and I'll explain why that is. I've been watching the votes to protect our health freedom dwindle until finally in the 109th Congress, without a good deal of activity, we didn't have the votes to protect us. I've been watching Codex accelerate and I've been watching it expand.
I'm showing you this because this is context for how far we've come in the past 15 years. This was the exact opposite. 20 years. This is 2005.
And I've been getting more
of
and
what we're
more
doing
troubled.
now.
Let me give you a brief rundown of Codex then. After the Second World War, the Nuremberg tribunals were held in which people who had committed crimes against humanity were judged by the world community in a court run by the United States and Britain, and they were sentenced to terms in prison if they were found guilty of crimes against humanity. One of the people found guilty of crimes against humanity was the president of a huge industrial megalith called I.G. Farben. I.G. Farben produced the gas used in the gas chambers, Zyklon B. They produced the steel for the death camps and the railroad lines. They produced the munitions. They produced chemicals. They produced all kinds of stuff. They produced pharmaceuticals. Big, 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 big pharmaceutical company. So the president of I.G. Farben was convicted of crimes against humanity. Now, he's a sort of artistic fellow and creative. He was the one who was responsible for the slogan that people saw as they entered Auschwitz, usually for the last time. Arbeit macht frei. Work brings freedom. Creative sort of fellow. So he was sitting in jail and he said, well, that didn't work. What else can we do? I've got it. Food. He who controls food controls the world. So when he got out of jail, he went to his UN buddies and he said, have I got an idea for you? If we take over food worldwide, we have power worldwide. And his UN buddies said, cool idea. And so they created a trade commission. That's a very important pair of words.
Not a health commission.
Commission called the Codex Alimentarius Commission. It is not a public health commission. It is not a consumer protection commission. It is a trade commission. Trade is about what? Money.
Moolah.
Business. Trade is about
Billdozer.
profit.
What's up, Dozer?
Well, they said in 1962, we're going to work toward total global implementation of Codex Alimentarius on December 31st, 2009. Long term. And they set up a bunch of committees on fish and fishery, fats and oil, fruits and vegetables, ground nuts, nutrition and foods for special dietary uses, and so on. There are currently about 27 Codex committee. There are regional organizations. There are task forces and so on. So it's a huge bureaucratic monstrosity. It's immense. Codex has promulgated well over 4,000 guidelines, standards, and regulations on everything which can legally be put into your mouth, with the exception of pharmaceuticals. They are not part of Codex. Important. Now, Codex standards have no legal weight whatsoever. Zero. So who cares about them? They're just standards. So we're talking about an industry-dominated, regulation-setting organization. But if it has no legal standing, who cares? Right?
Yes, Outlaw Dogs. This is Dr. Rima Laibow, L-A-I-B-O-W, wife of General Stubblebine, the guy who famously offered, allegedly, Stephen Greer $2 billion to shut his fucking mouth and join the secret space program. She was brought in by Alex Jones in the 2009 episode of Jesse Ventura's Conspiracy Theory on True TV, where she claimed that there was a global population schmeduction program where they were going to sterilize individuals by putting a substance called squalene in injectables. So yes, this is the same lady, Outlaw Dogs.
Right?
Consummate high-level insider. She's a doctor that took care of multiple heads of state. So she's like really on the inside. And Yeah, Jesse the Body Ventura. Outlaw dogs. Yeah.
Here's the history of Codex Alimentarius before 1962. The Austro-Hungarian Empire said, we need rules by which the courts can rule on
What's up,
cases
T?
involving food. So we'll have regulations and rules that the courts will enforce. That's how they get their weight. That was called the Codex Alimentarius, and it was put into place around 1893 and lasted until the end of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the First World War. So the idea was there in the Germanic tradition. We need rules, lots of rules, lots and lots of rules. We need a lot of rules. Let's have rules for everything to do with food. So it was sort of a natural extension for the German industrialists to say, we'll go back to the good old days of Codex Alimentarius, back when we had them in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Cool. So they started promulgating their rules and regulations, and they were voluntary. They were sort of guidelines. Now, Codex Alimentarius Commission is administered by the World Health Organization, WHO, and the FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization. They fund Codex, and they run it at the request of the UN. So they're mommy and daddy to Codex Alimentarius. And that's very interesting, because they're supposed to be about health and food worldwide. Some conflicts of interest that we'll talk about. So Codex started promulgating regulations and rules. And the way that's done is that the committees work up a rule, a standard, a guideline, a regulation, and then they get it to what's called Step 8, which is the final step in their administrative process. And then it's presented to the Codex Alimentarius Commission for ratification, like the Vitamin and Mineral Guideline was presented to the Codex Alimentarius Commission on July 4th this past summer. It was ratified, it was approved by consensus, and it is now, despite the propaganda that you're going to hear, if you ever hear about it in the media, it is now mandatory upon any member country of the WTO, the World Trade Organization. Well, what in the world do they have to do with it? And
Are we out of that yet? We got to get out of that, too.
The World Trade Organization, you see, accepted Codex when the World Trade Organization was formed in 1994. Okay? They said, well, how are we going to decide trade disputes around food if we don't have a set of rules? I know. We'll accept the Codex Alimentarius rules. And all the members of the WTO worldwide will, get ready for an Orwellian term, harmonize with our standards, with the Codex standards. Harmonize. I suggest you capitalize the first four letters in your mind.
Harm.
So everybody's supposed to harmonize with Codex. And when they harmonize with Codex, then if they get pulled into the World Trade Organization dispute resolution process, they have a chance of winning. Because, here's the kicker. You ready for this one? If two countries go into the World Trade Organization dispute resolution process, and one of them is Codex compliant, and one of them is not Codex compliant, the one that is Codex compliant automatically wins regardless of the merit of the case. People are using Codex compliance as a weapon in a much bigger economic battle. So, every country in the world is racing to do what? To become Codex compliant. So, in the United States, the situation is, okay, how do we become Codex compliant when we have laws that protect us? And you have to remember that Codex does not serve consumer well-being, does not serve health. It serves what I call the 5 bigs. Big Pharma, Big Chema, Big Biotechna, Big Agribiz, and Big Medica. Little you and little me are not served by Codex in the least. So, before we go forward and talk about the rest of what has to happen, let's ask what Codex does. You probably all know about the Vitamin and Mineral Guideline that was ratified on July 4th. You may not know that although it is said that Codex guidelines, regulations, and standards which have been ratified are voluntary, they are not voluntary.
Like income taxes?
That is known as a
voluntary
lie.
compliance?
They classifies nutrients and herbs are mandatory, but they are not fully mandatory until December 31st, 2009. They're sort of kind of...
Classifies
a little bit
nutrients,
mandatory now.
vitamins as
and they're
toxins.
Totally mandatory then. Okay, so what does Codex do? Why do I care enough about Codex to close my practice and stop treating patients who came to me from around the world to help them regain their health and be radiantly well with non-toxic means, which is a very satisfying thing to do. I love it. And it also provided me with an income. Why am I concerned enough? Okay, let's talk about the vitamin and mineral guideline first. In 1994, here in the United States, DSHEA, the Dietary Supplements, Health and Education Act, was passed, which classifies nutrients and herbs as foods. As foods, you can set no upper limit on them. You cannot set an upper limit on lettuce, lamb, or rutabagas. And similarly, you cannot set an upper limit on vitamin C, echinacea, ginkgo biloba, vitamin D. And access to nutrients is freely given to us. We are allowed to have any nutrients we want because, and this is a very important point, under common law, anything not forbidden is permitted. Codex, on the other hand, is a Napoleonic Code law system. Under Napoleonic Code, anything not permitted is forbidden. That's called a positive list. So, vitamins and minerals. In 1994, we passed DSHEA. Nutrients are foods. We can have as much of them as we want. It's our business. In 1994, Codex, with no notice here in this country whatsoever, declared nutrients, put on your intellectual seatbelts, declared nutrients to be toxins. They're poisons. Dangerous industrial poisons. As poisons, we have to be protected from them. How do you protect somebody from a poison? You use toxicology. You use a science called risk assessment. A quick primer on risk assessment. First, you take the substance that's poisonous and you feed it to animals and you determine the dose that kills 50% of them. That's called the LD50.
LD50.
Okay? And you extrapolate what the LD50 per human being might be. Then, you go down to the other end of the dosage range and you start feeding itty-bitty tiny bits of it to test animals. And you come up with the largest possible dose, the maximum permissible upper limit, that can be fed to an animal before a discernible impact is shown. Okay? No discernible impact. Then you divide that by 100. That's how they do it in risk assessment. And now you've got a safety margin. So you've got 1/100th of the dose that can be given, the largest dose that can be given with no discernible impact. Okay? Nutrients under Codex not only are limited to those nutrients on the positive list, and we anticipate there will be 18 of them, and they do not include CoQ10, glucosamine, chondroitin sulfate. They do include fluoride, which, to my knowledge as a physician, has absolutely no biological benefit whatsoever. But it does make people complacent. Fluoride was first used in the Gulag because it was discovered that prisoners who were fed fluoridated water were complacent, and you could do anything you wanted to them. They were easy to manage. So you have 18 nutrients. You have itty-bitty, teeny-weeny, little-bitty doses that are determined scientifically to have no effect on any human being. Now, in this country, we have a problem. We have DSHEA. We got to get rid of DSHEA in order to harmonize with Codex. That part of Codex, anyway. So how do we get rid of DSHEA? We attack it legislatively, of course. And there are 5, count them, 5 bills currently before Congress designed to overturn, gut, invalidate, and otherwise get rid of DSHEA. Because once DSHEA is gone, we can harmonize with the vitamin and mineral guideline. So what we're talking about is waking up one morning and being very surprised to find that high-potency, therapeutically effective, clinically significant nutrients are now illegal in the way that heroin is illegal. Not available with a prescription. Illegal. If these nutrients have any impact on the human body, they are illegal. That's just the vitamin and mineral guideline. Let's talk about milk. We have recombinant bovine growth hormone, and now we can choose milk with it or milk without it, butter with it, butter without it, right? Not under Codex, because under Codex, every dairy cow on the planet must be treated with Monsanto's recombinant bovine growth hormone. Furthermore, under Codex, every animal used for food on the planet, whether it has fins, feet, or feathers, every animal on the planet must be treated with subclinical antibiotics, must be treated with subclinical antibiotics, and must be treated with exogenous growth hormones. Codex requires, mandates that all food be irradiated unless it's eaten locally and raw. All food, including organic food, of course. So is it organic afterwards? Well, of course, the organic standards are incredibly low. The organic standards allow a farmer to use veterinary drugs, including growth hormones, antibiotics, etc., on animals, and then at his whim reclassify them as organic, but farmers are our friends and they would never do that, right? Right. Codex sets limits for the dangerous industrial chemicals that you can have in your food. And the limits are incredibly high. Go to Codex Alimentarius, do a Google search, and look, there are drop-down menus at the top of the official Codex page. Look at the toxins and the veterinary chemicals and the levels that are set.
This is bananas.
They are terrifying to me.
And this is the plan since the 60s to make this happen in 2009. Now look in 2025, we're doing the exact opposite of this. This is
Terrifying.
insane. This
The
is what
names
they
of the
wanted.
chemicals that are permitted and the amounts of the chemicals that are permitted are terrifying to me. Why am I terrified? Well, perhaps I'm just a cowardly person. It's possible. Think about this. In 2001, 176 countries, including the United States, got together and they said there are 12 really bad organic chemicals. They're called POPs, persistent organic pollutants. There are a lot of them, but there are 12 that are so bad that nobody could disagree that those 12
Sup,
POPs
TV?
had to be banned worldwide. 9 of the 12 worst organic chemicals known are pesticides, not surprisingly, because they kill things. And, of course, we have many processes and enzyme systems that are very much like insects and other pests, so they're not too good for us. But Codex has different ideas. Codex has brought back 7 of the 9 forbidden POPs that 176 countries banned worldwide. Dieldrin, aldrin, hexachlorobenzene. And the food that is imported from other countries that contains these substances cannot be stopped at our borders, because otherwise it would be, God forbid, a trade violation. That's how Codex works. Codex, according to the World Trade Organization and the Food and Agriculture Organization, joint projections. Now, I didn't make this up. Please, if you unfastened your intellectual seatbelts, put them back on again. If you do the numbers in the WHO-FAO projections, the epidemiological projections, they estimate, not I, because what do I know? They estimate, they're the experts, that just the vitamin and mineral guideline alone, when it goes into global implementation on December 31st, 2009, will result in a minimum of 3 billion, that's B, bad,
Big, bad.
billion.
Have you heard me say, that's B, big, bad, billion? That's where I got it from.
Deaths. 1 billion through simple starvation. Those folks who die are not particularly economically successful from the point of view of the corporations. When you're starving to
Useless
death,
eaters.
how much good can you do when the issue is how much can you buy? Not a lot. Forget them. But the next 2 billion. They will die from the preventable diseases of undernutrition. Cancer, the single most profitable condition ever known to humankind. Cardiovascular disease, a good second. Diabetes, pretty good producer. And a whole host of other preventable diseases. Who will die? Who knows? Who will live? Probably those people who are wealthy enough and powerful enough to have their own pushers of clean food and nutrients. That's who will live.
Like the British royal family with their own farms and stuff that they use for their own
You
food.
and I? Probably not. Our children? Probably not. Our grandchildren? Probably not. So we're talking about food regulations that are, in fact, the legalization of mandated toxicity and undernutrition. It will be illegal if there's a famine in, wherever there's a famine, to ship high nutrient density biscuits to that country, and it will be illegal to distribute them. That's what we're talking about. Codex is big and it's bad, but it's not invulnerable.
That's right. And we have beaten it at this point, and now we are doing the exact fucking opposite thing. With the UN trying to push this since the 60s and implement it in this time period, the fact that we have moved beyond that and are actively combating it and going the opposite direction now, the importance of RFK Jr. being confirmed, signifying the death knell of this UN project to destroy the U.S. and the world is a big deal, and they've already got legislation in the works as well. Thanks, Wiley. I will check that out. Throughout the confirmation process, he focused on the need to address nutrition and food systems to improve the country's overall well-being, the exact opposite of what Codex Alimentarius wanted to do. So, the Senate's Make America Healthy Again caucus formed to back the policy goals of incoming HHS Secretary RFK Jr. was readying legislation as the Senate confirmed the nominee on Thursday. Senator Roger Marshall from Kansas, Republican, founder of the caucus, described a, quote, package of bills he was going to vote for to confirm Kennedy. He said the bills sought to improve the nation's nutrition and agriculture systems with a focus on soil health, regenerative farming, and reworking the dietary guidelines. Sounds awesome. I'm so excited for this, man. I'm so excited. We can get rid of this chronic illness and obesity and all this stuff if we just fix what we're eating. Look at pictures of people in the U.S. from the 70s, from the 60s, from the 30s. Everybody was skinny. Everybody was healthy. It's the food. It's the medicine. It's the chemicals that have leached into everything. And we're going to fucking fix it now. Hopefully. We do need to prioritize and organize. So this is really exciting. They've already got bills in the works. Look at this. Somebody just shared this in chat a moment ago. Vigilant Fox posted, new MSNBC mutes Donald Trump's mic to bring on a physician to shit on RFK Jr. instead. So they shut down the president as he's talking. And they bring on some propagandist instead. Let's check out the
Donald
video.
Trump is now speaking at the lectern before RFK Jr. will be sworn in. When we come out of this, we're going to talk to a practicing physician and expert in health systems.
These scumbags, man. Just if you are a news organization, what Trump is saying is news. Bringing Kennedy in to swear him in is news. Just play the news. Just share what's happening.
Management. That person's going to give us everything about what it would mean, would the purview and the remit for RFK Jr. So let's listen to this, and then we'll come out. We're not going to listen to this. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. We're going to watch this for now. Joining us, practicing physician and expert in health systems management and hospital revenue cycles, Dr. Drew Updike. All right, so we are going to watch as RFK Jr. gets sworn in.
Wow. These people are truly scumbags. And RFK Jr.'s confirmation isn't the only good thing that's going on. Over here, the justice cometh. At JGT58 MAGA posting, cash just cleared the committee. That means he could see a floor vote tomorrow on Friday. Let's look at a Delta for tomorrow. Valentine's Day tomorrow. Massacre on DC swamp tomorrow. Possible suicide weekend after Epstein files released. Oh, man. This Trump naming names on Capitol Hill today. Anybody have any updates about that? We have the clip of him saying, tomorrow I'll be naming names of the people and corporations who got all the corrupt money. But I couldn't find any updates on that yet today. He had a big press conference. Panic in DC, panic everywhere. Let's see what happens. Ooh, man, it's going to be crazy. I hope Glenn Beck was right. We do get the Epstein list immediatamente with cash going in. We also had this bizarre occurrence. Aircraft carrier USS Harry S. Truman collides with a large cargo ship off the coast of Egypt. I wonder who was captaining the ship. USS Harry S. Truman collided with a Panamanian-flagged cargo ship, the Besiktas M, off the coast of Egypt. The U.S. Navy's 6th Fleet reported that the collision did not result in flooding or injuries aboard the Truman, and the ship's propulsion plants remain safe and in stable condition. Good, because they're nuclear. Quote, The Nimitz-class aircraft carrier USS Harry S. Truman, CVN-75, was involved in a collision with the merchant vessel Besiktas M at approximately 11:46 p.m. local time, February 12th, while operating in the vicinity of Port Said, Egypt, in the Mediterranean Sea. The Navy's 6th Fleet announced the collision did not endanger the Harry S. Truman, and as there are no reports of flooding or injuries, the propulsion plants are unaffected and in a safe and stable condition. The incident is under investigation. More information will be released as it becomes available. So that sucks. Here's the two ships in question: the Nimitz-class Harry S. Truman aircraft carrier and the Besiktas. The Besiktas M. Two big-ass boats, big-ass ships involved with the collision. So hopefully everybody's okay. Typically, the Truman operates as the flagship of a carrier strike group, which includes various supporting vessels and aircrafts. Was it alone out there? Truman's carrier strike group is often comprised of guided missile cruisers, guided missile destroyers, and carrier air wings. So how did they get anywhere near this other ship? I don't know. I guess we'll cover more information as it comes out. Now we also have the Doge website going live. And just for the record, we're only about halfway through this presentation about Codex Alimentarius. So if you want to learn more about the evil stuff that they were masterminding against our population, planetary population, link will be in the description for that whole thing. I advise you to check it out because it's really interesting and it will make you really appreciate that we're entering the era of Maha right now, as opposed to going the era of Codex Alimentarius. Oh man, binary opposites, ladies and gentlemen, binary opposites. So the initial Doge site has X-feed posts, consolidated government org chart, enormous manual effort consolidating 16,000 plus offices, a summary of the massive regulatory state, including the unconstitutionality index, a ratio of rules written by unelected bureaucrats to laws passed by Congress. Coming soon, hopefully Valentine's Day tomorrow. We'll also get descriptions and amounts of each cost reduction with receipts where available. Overall savings scorecard. We have the savings clock that's now going live as well. We will constantly be working to maximize the site's utility and transparency. Please let us know what else you want to see. So let's check out the website. Doge.gov. Boom. Latest work. Department of Education terminated grants to the 4, quote, equity assistance centers totaling $33 million. One provided professional learning around critical race theory and racial literacy. Ooh. Looks like their embedding is a little messed up, unfortunately, at this point. But here's the latest work. Let's check out the savings tab. Receipts coming soon, no later than Valentine's Day. Meet the U.S. government. Trace your tax dollars through the bureaucracy. This is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. Wow. So you can check out how the money gets funneled through all these organizations. Pretty wild stuff. Going to be looking forward to exploring this. Unconstitutionality index. This is the number of agencies, rules created by unelected bureaucrats for each law passed by Congress. So for every one law passed by Congress, we have 18.5 unconstitutional regulations dictated by unelected bureaucrats. Code of Federal Regulations right now consists of 98.68 million total words. How is any person supposed to be able to navigate the Code of Federal Regulations to make sure they're living legally when there's 98.68 million words? It's designed to make sure that you can't read it. Straight up. Look at it. Just gets bigger and bigger and bigger every year. 215,000.23 total sections of regulations. We have the breakdown of federal regulations by agency over here. Look at all these agencies. There's so many more agencies than we need. Afuera, afuera, afuera. Get rid of most of them. Oh my. How many agencies can you possibly have? Load more agencies. Scroll. Load more agencies. Oh, way too many. Way too many agencies. Look at all these agencies. We got to give them the Argentina treatment. The Argentina treatment needs to happen immediately, in my opinion. Let's see where. I think we have a link to the. No, I forgot to grab the link to the debt clock or the clock that they put together. I'll see if I can find it. Let's jump over to our next one. Doge audits IRS. Efficiency drive sparks debate. Doge officials have entered the IRS building in Washington, D.C. to start an examination of its operations following a public vote initiated by Elon Musk himself. The move has sparked concerns over privacy and efficiency, with a federal judge recently blocking Doge from accessing sensitive Treasury Department material. President Trump has also mentioned looking into the IRS, suggesting potential policy changes like getting rid of income tax entirely. Doge officials have just entered IRS building in D.C. to begin their investigation into the agency, posted 5 hours ago by Nick Sortor. This comes over after X users overwhelmingly voted for Doge to dig into the IRS just days ago. I don't know if we covered the poll, but it did occur. I did vote on it as well. And I only voted yes because I didn't get far enough down before voting to see that fuck yes option. Only 8% of people say no. Doge shouldn't audit the IRS. 8% of people that voted on this need an alert, is what it comes down to. They need a very specific alert.
Uh-oh, retard alert. Retard alert, class.
8% of people said, no, don't audit the IRS. Who are they? We needed a constitutional amendment to deport these people right here in this no zone. Oh, man. Reporter, Doge workers arrived at the IRS today. Do you expect to close the IRS? Oh, no. Lutnick saying someday. Let's check this.
Doge workers arrived today. Gavin Klager and others arrived today at the IRS. Do you expect to close the IRS, or what are you expecting?
No, I don't expect it, but I think that the
someday, Lutnick said,
Internal Revenue Service will be looked at like everybody else. Just about everybody's going to be looked at. So it's they're doing a hell of a job. It's an amazing job they're doing, and you know that force is building. These, I call it the force of super geniuses, but it's building. And you know, they go up and they talk to some of the people about certain deals, and the people get all tongue-tied. They can't talk. Because
that's right,
these
Cannabis.
Get it. They're very smart people.
Good to see you.
We need smart people. Yes. Brian?
That's right. We need smart people, and these 8% are retarded. Oh, man. This is so good. Leftists flip out as Doge enters IRS headquarters to begin investigating the corrupt agency. Cullen Linebarger writing over on Gateway Pundit. Elon Musk and Doge have now started their efforts to crack down on arguably the most hated agency in the entire country, causing libtards to lose it all over again. Reuters, who got $9 million from the Department of Defense for active social engineering and large-scale deception, reported that Gavin Klager, a key staffer working with Elon Musk in his efforts to downsize the federal government, entered IRS headquarters on Thursday to investigate the corrupt agency's operations. Sources told Reuters' Zasso that Klager had been meeting with multiple senior executives at the agency to learn more. Would you like to know more? One can only imagine what nasty stuff Klager and the rest of Doge will discover. It's a safe bet that documented political persecution against conservatives will be one of the items. Yes, indeed. This development follows President Trump's announcement during a news conference that he would be looking into the IRS. Far-left Senator Ron Wyden, his asshole, hit the panic button upon hearing of the news of Doge's arrival. Quote, "My office is hearing that Doge is now at the IRS. That means Musk's henchmen are in a position to dig through a trove of data about every taxpayer in America. And if your refund is delayed, they could very well be the reason." Oh, I'm sorry. Would you rather have a corrupt government that's trying to destroy you by every vector possible? Or would you rather have that all cleaned out and have your tax returns be a little bit delayed? A little bit of delayed on your funding. Oh, what a horrible thing. A slight delay. I'd rather have no tax refund at all and have the corruption gone through. Take the tax refund and use it to fund the operation to eliminate the corruption at the IRS. How about that? I think most people would probably agree on it. He's full of shit. He's full of shit. I'm a Leo, motherfucker. A Leo. Anderson Inc. Good to see you, Sean. Other leftists flipped out over the news of Doge's arrival as well. Empty Wheel saying maybe this is how Musk knew about the personal finances of some of the civil servants he's targeted. Oh no. Oh no. Jennifer J. Monteith, your senator and House rep, Muskrat and Doge lackeys should be nowhere near the IRS and not have any access to taxpayers' private data. Respectfully, Senator, they are not henchmen. Some of them are actually boys. It's like hench boys? Is that what he's getting at here? Boys who are having sleepovers in government offices while they try to impress the richest man in the world with their loyalty. They're lawless and likely corrupt. Our information is in grave danger. But it was totally safe with the unelected, nameless bureaucrats that were, dominating the information before. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. It's not my birthday, Mama Mac. Sean's fucking with you guys over there. Look at him laughing. Look at him laughing down there. But if you want a Rumble rant in honor of my half birthday, that'd be pretty fun. 2 days, and it'll be my half birthday. So you keep that in mind, I guess. It's not my birthday, TV Green. Sean is just starting shit over there. Hilarious. Hilarious. Get a judge and multiple restraining orders and arrest warrants. Ted and Lynn losing their shit over there. Obstruct, says Janny Pants. We could all trust Janny Pants for sure. Continuously demand quorum calls and object to unanimous consent. Stop all confirmations. Put holds on every Trump nominee. Investigate and stop Musk now. Sweet Tart losing her tits over here as well. They need to be stopped. We need Demon Rat leadership to start blocking the doors. Yeah, we'll arrest you. Go for it. No budget deals until Musk is stopped. Yeah, Democrat leadership where? There's no Democrat leadership in the executive branch. You want members of Congress to try to obstruct Republicans who are in charge of the executive branch from getting inside of executive branch buildings? Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Use whatever leverage we have to grind it to a halt. We'll arrest you. And we will laugh all the way to jail. Anderson Inc. toying in the chat people with a $20 Rumble rant. He didn't even comment. Thanks, bro. Appreciate your support, man. Sean Anderson, one of my good friends, since all the way back to middle school days in 1998 when I was badgering him about Bob Lazar and reverse engineering alien tech. And what do you know? 27 years later, it's all coming out. Thanks, Sean. Thanks for the happy birthday. You crazy, man. You crazy. So let's see what's going on over here. Ellen Musk posted this. I don't remember what it is, but let's check it out. I grabbed it.
Talk about widespread fraud and abuse.
Oh, yeah. Tremendous fraud. There's tremendous fraud. And it's hard to believe that you can have that kind of fraud. You're talking about are you talking about what? Wait. Which are you talking? You're talking about with regard to all of the investigations that are going on about this stupidity. What we're going to do is tomorrow I'm having a news conference. I'm going to read to you some of the names that hundreds of millions and even billions of dollars have been given to.
So this was supposed to happen today. Does anybody have any updates on Trump naming names? If you do, post it in the chat because we got to check it out. I haven't found these details yet, but they may be out by now because this press conference has already occurred.
And if you tell me that we should be giving money to those things, those entities, I think you'll probably have to leave as a reporter because you're not very talented. When you look at the kind of money, billions and billions of dollars being thrown away illegally, and there's no chance. I mean, I say it in front of our Attorney General. There's no chance that there's not kickbacks or something going on. When you give millions and millions of dollars to somebody that stands to look at something for 15 minutes and walks away with millions of dollars, That money's coming back in some form, and that's only one form of corruption. The biggest thing is what they do to our country. They're taking massive amounts of money and spending it on items. I went through a list of 200 expenditures that were made, and I found 3 that looked like they were reasonable. Okay, 3. And we'll be talking about that tomorrow. We have a lot of stuff. And I want to commend Elon because he's done a fantastic. He doesn't need this. You know, he's abused by you people every day. He's found more things than anybody could find. I think he's got the credibility to do it. I know he does. And it's his group of people. You know, they started off with 12. I call them 12 geniuses. They started off with 12, and they went to 20 and 25, and now they're up to almost 100.
Coming up soon, we got a cool-ass story about amazing ideas for the new Trump administration, where Alex Jones is talking with Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen Polling, the only poller that's got like basically everything right in the past 4 years. And he has some really good ideas. And speaking of this, they started with 12 geniuses. Now they've got 24 and then 36. He had a really cool idea for a Doge apprentice TV show to be like a TV show chronicling what Doge does and having, department, people investigating the different departments and the heads of the departments competing to see who can cut the most waste. And if they don't, they're fired. Doge, the apprentice Doge version would be freaking legendary. It'd be so good. We'll get into that suggestion in a bit. Let's continue.
People are joining to help them because there's a massive fraud that's taken place.
Massive fraud. And it's all coming out. We need arrests, big arrests. We also have Trump signing an executive order, I think, for reciprocal tariffs. Oh yeah, you charge us 20%, we're going to charge you 20%. It's only fair. Says days of America being ripped off are over. This is really good news. President Trump has imposed sweeping reciprocal tariffs on every country that charges the United States taxes or tariffs on imported goods. Whatever countries charge the United States of America, we will charge them. No more, no less. The president says it as he signed the order. Let's watch.
And on trade, I have decided for purposes of fairness that I will charge a reciprocal tariff, meaning whatever countries charge the United States of America, we will charge them. No more, no less. In other words, they charge us a tax or tariff, and we charge them the exact same tax or tariff. Very simple. Nobody knows what that number is unless you go by the individual country. You can see what it is if you go to the individual country and you look at what they're charging us. In almost all cases, they're charging us vastly more than we charge them, but those days are over.
Boom. Oh, man. This is going to be good. We're going to see our revenue from the External Revenue Service pouring in on a massive scale. Here's the truth post from Trump on it. On trade, I have decided for purposes of fairness that I will charge a reciprocal tariff, meaning whatever countries charge the United States of America, we will charge them. No more, no less. For the purposes of this United States policy, we will consider countries that use the VAT system, which is far more punitive than a tariff, to be similar to that of a tariff. Sending merchandise, product, or anything by any other name through another country for purposes of unfairly harming America will not be accepted. In addition, we will make provision for subsidies provided by countries in order to take economic advantage of the United States. Likewise, provisions will be made for non-monetary tariffs and trade barriers that some countries charge in order to keep our product out of their domain, or if they do not even let U.S. businesses operate. We are able to accurately determine the cost of these non-monetary trade barriers. It is fair to all. No other country can complain. And in some cases, if a country feels that the United States would be getting too high a tariff, all they have to do is reduce or terminate their tariff against us. There are no tariffs if you manufacture or build your product in the United States. For many years, the U.S. has been treated unfairly by other countries, both friend and foe. That giant sucking sound that Ross Perot talked about it. They've been siphoning our money out around the world, and it's over. We're done being pushed around and taken advantage of economically. This system will immediately bring fairness and prosperity back into the previously complex and unfair system of trade. America has helped many countries throughout the years at a great financial cost. It is now time that these countries remember this and treat us fairly. We've been helping your asses for a long ass time with unlimited dough, effectively. Now it's over, and you're going to respect us. A level playing field for American workers. I've instructed my Secretary of State, Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of the Treasury, and United States Trade Representative, USTR, to do all work necessary to deliver reciprocity to our system of trade. Nice. And what we need next is a Second Amendment pistol permit reciprocity across all the states as well. Oh, man. Did y'all forget what the Canadian government did to those truckers? I didn't forget. Send those tariffs to the moon, Donald. Send them to the moon. So check this out. Clip from Jones. Trump's trade war just went nuclear, and the globalists are losing their minds. Let's check it out.
All right. This is such a big subject that I'm going to tell the crew now not to put out what we just did.
Yeah, watch out for candles on Valentine's Day. They're full of carcinogens that float through the air like those bounty thing or whatever you plug in the wall, and they emit scents. I don't fucking trust any of that shit. I bet it's laced with horrible stuff.
All right, we just went out live. That's fine. But Trump's now speaking, so this is such a big subject.
Skunk!
That I'm going to come back in here in this studio after the show. I'm going to shoot what needs to be done. Stop it and comment on each point because good. Trump is speaking now on the tariffs. He also, reciprocal tariffs. He also said that he's going to be naming names at this event of some of the fraudsters. Let's go to the president.
Prices go up. Excuse me, we haven't asked you to speak yet, please.
This was funny. He's still showing off the bill or the EO that he just signed. And Caitlin Collins from CNN starts, he's like, excuse me, we haven't asked you to start speaking yet. Shut the fuck up, Caitlin Collins. Have some respect.
Right? Okay. Go ahead, please. Go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Mr. President, you are meeting Prime Minister Modi of India this afternoon. What kind of trade and tariff relations you would like to have with India, and what's the vision for India and US?
Yeah, India traditionally is the highest, just about the highest tariffed country. They charge more tariffs than any other country. And, I mean, we'll be talking
apparently
about
he
that.
has,
again, whatever they
He is barred, pirate style, mateys. AP, Associated Press, from the press briefings because they're lying and saying that it's the Gulf of Mexico. It's the Gulf of America, okay? Get it through your head. He says, if you're lying, you're not welcome in the press briefings anymore. So that's pretty good. We have some conflict about that, with him being questioned about that as well. We'll get to it in a little bit.
charge us, we're charging them. So it works out very well. It's a beautiful, simple system. And we don't have to worry about you
common
charging
sense.
too much or too little. But traditionally, India is right at the top of the pack, pretty much. There are a couple of smaller.
Right, and everybody could freak out saying, oh, you're going to charge 20% tariffs here or there. Don't pay, it's a smarter move to say, oh, we're not going to do 20, we're not going to do 30, we're not going to do 10, we're going to do reciprocal. Whatever they're doing to us, we're going to do to them. Eye for an eye, scales of justice even. You know how they say, an eye for an eye will make the whole world blind? I call bullshit on that. An eye for an eye. Eventually, after everybody's poking each other's eyes out, there'll be one guy left with one eye, and he will rule them all.
Countries that are actually more. But India's a very, they charge tremendous tariffs. I remember when Harley Davidson couldn't sell their motorbikes into India because of the fact that India, the tax was so high, the tariff was so high. And Harley was forced to build, I guess they built, I don't know, that was a while ago, but I think they built a factory in India in order to avoid paying the tariffs. And that's what people can do with us. They can build a factory here, a plant or whatever it may be here, and that includes the medical, that includes cars, that includes chips and semiconductors.
Right, build here.
That includes everything. If you
avoid
build
tariffs,
here, you
build
have no
here.
tariffs whatsoever. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think our country is going to be flooded with jobs.
There you go. Exactly.
What should consumers expect? Are prices going to go up short-term,
Well,
long-term?
not necessarily. I mean, not necessarily, but I'll tell you what will go up is jobs. The jobs will go up tremendously. We're going to have great jobs for everybody. This is something that should have been done many years ago. China did it. I mean, China did it at a level that probably nobody's ever seen before. If you manufactured a car, you couldn't send it into China. The tariff was so high. So everybody went and they built in China. It was no big secret. So we're going to see, but it's going to mean tremendous amounts of jobs. And ultimately, prices will stay the same, go down. But we're going to have a very dynamic country.
But if prices go up, Mr. President, because of these tariffs, who do you think voters should hold responsible?
Oh, I think what's going to go up.
Hold the people who set up this shitty system and got you used to getting ripped off responsible. It's their fault because we have to fix the system now and go through the pain of fixing it. They hadn't been fucking us over a barrel for the past 50 years. We wouldn't have to go through some pain to fix it. We should have kept reciprocal tariffs forever. I think we've covered some good historical information about tariffs, so I won't get into that. But yeah, we fucked up. They fucked up. They fucked us. They started, instead of relying on foreign governments to fund our government, they said, we'll just give the foreign governments money and we'll charge the people here instead. Instead of using the rest of the world to empower us via tariffs, they started using us through taxes to empower everybody else. Completely reversed the system that worked so well.
Jobs are going to go up, and prices could go up somewhat short term, but prices will also go down. And I think the farmers are going to be helped by this very much because product is being dumped into our country, and our farmers are getting hurt very badly by the last administration. The last administration hated our farmers, like at a level that I've never seen before.
Yeah, Amos Miller. 2 words. Amos Miller. They hate the farmers. They hate natural food. They try to shut it down. And the states are doing it too, like the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. They hate healthy foods. They were trying to push Codex Alimentarius to outlaw vitamins and minerals and classify them as toxins. They want you dead, in my opinion.
I think our farmers are going to be helped. Jobs are going to be helped, but our farmers are going to be helped. Our manufacturers are going to be helped. And again, if somebody wants to come in, including the car companies, if they want to come in and build car plants, they'll do it without tariffs, and therefore prices won't go up. There could be some short-term disturbance, but
short-term disturbance as the economy rearranges itself and these companies move jobs back into this country to avoid tariffs. It'll be a temporary disturbance, and then prices will go down and we'll be industrially independent again. The whole 1963 Dr. Richard Day Rockefeller Foundation plan to create a post-industrial America, we're undoing that with tariffs to encourage production here. It's going to be huge.
Long term, it's gonna make our country a fortune.
So Americans should prepare for some short-term pain.
No, you said that. I didn't say that.
Well, if the prices go up.
Let's see what happens. Nobody really knows what is going to happen other than we know the jobs are going to be produced at levels that we haven't seen before. We know that we think interest rates are going to ultimately be coming down because of things that happen, and they go hand in hand with the tariffs. But we think that the prices for some things, many things, it could be all things, will go down. Ultimately, will go down.
Mr. President, can you explain the timeline here, sir? There's a period of time for a review, a report, 180 days. Sure. What's the earliest date that you think tariffs will actually be implemented and executed?
Well, I would say, maybe I'll ask Howard to answer that because he's going to be the one that's implementing. What do you think?
Our studies should be all complete by April 1st. So we'll hand the president the opportunity to start on April 2nd if he wants. So I think we'll be ready to go on April 1st, and we'll hand it to the president, and he'll make his decisions. But remember, if they drop their tariffs, prices for Americans are coming down. Our production's going up, and our costs are going down. Remember, it's a two-way street. That's why it's called reciprocal.
Have you spoken to any American CEOs directly about this? Are they calling you and asking for
I've spoken to many, and many love it. And they say this is going to be the thing that makes our country really prosperous again. And this is going to be what pays down to $36 trillion in debt and all the other things. And this is going to be, this is an amazing day. I think this is going to be a very big day and in a very positive way for our country. Yes, please.
Mr. President, you've talked about the VAT and the EU before and your concerns with how the EU treats you. Do you have a number in mind on the European Union? Do you have an idea of where that number is going to land?
Well, what they are now is they have a 20% VAT tax, which we're considering to be similar or the same as the tariff. Plus, they charge lots of fees. And, they're doing something else. European Union's been very tough on our companies. They sued Apple. They sued Google. They sued Facebook. They sued many other companies, and they're American companies. And the kind of numbers are staggering. And the court system over there is not very good to our companies. If you know that Apple had to pay, I think, $16 billion in a penalty, a court case that was really shocking because most people thought they would have won that court case, people that watched it. So they've been very tough. Airlines have called me up and they said, could you help us with Europe because they're charging us so many different fees. I got a call from the head of American, United, and other airlines saying every time we land a plane, we get just absolutely killed by the European Union. And so they haven't been treated as good. We think the European Union is wonderful. We all love Europe, love the countries in Europe. But European Union has been absolutely brutal on trade. Canada's been very bad to us on trade, but now Canada's going to have to start paying up. And Canada's been tough on the military because they have a very low military cost. They think we're going to, protect them with our military, which is unfair. So Canada's going to be a very interesting situation because, we just don't need their product. And yet they survive off the fact that we do 95% of what they do. And Canada is just absolutely, I say it, and sometimes people smile and sometimes they say great idea, but Canada, their taxes would come down greatly. Their security would go up greatly. Amazing things happen to Canada. And really, Canada, in this particular, why would we pay $200 billion a year in subsidies to Canada when they're not a state? You do that for a state, but you don't do that for somebody else's country. So I think Canada is going to be a very serious contender to be our 51st state.
Very serious contender to be our 51st state. They can't survive without $200 billion a year from you, the taxpayer. So if they want taxpayer money from the federal government, like all of the other states get, they need to be a state. It's as simple as that. If you can't survive without our money, and you can't operate independently, you're not an independent nation. You're not a nation. You're just a parasite leeching off of our nation. So, time to seriously consider Canada for the 51st state, guys, apparently.
Ongoing with Canada, there was obviously a delay in implementing those tariffs.
I spoke to Governor Trudeau on numerous occasions, and we'll see what happens. But it just sets up so good for them. Look, the people would pay much less tax.
Let's fade down this live press conference for just a moment. I mean, how bombshell is that? Trump had just basically acted like it was a little bit of a joke before, but he put the idea out there so it would grow. If Canada will totally collapse without the United States, 90% of their trade goes to us. They buy almost none of our goods. It's a couple percentage points, like 3%. It's the last number I saw. Mexico, 80% of their trade into us.
Thanks,
and they buy almost nothing from us. We have been completely screwed over. And so Trump is saying that it's over. And so you are going to give us your resources. That's a president that is literally working for the American people. And that's how the whole world works. If the United States doesn't exercise its power over resources through economics, China and the globalists will do it. And that's what Hillary and the deep staters have been doing for decades and decades. It was
no statehood until we know they're going to vote with us.
already going on since World War II ended, was taking our money and our power and going and setting up deals for them to screw America and then give them the money and power to go around and buy more resources and get more control. And then have the CIA go overthrow countries, not even to help U.S. interests, but to help the globalist interest. Trump's like, we're not going to overthrow any countries. This deal's been so one-sided, everyone is dependent on us. Because the dollar is still the dollar. It wasn't going to be for long. The final double crossing was going down.
They effectively volunteered themselves into subservience by becoming reliant on $200 billion a year from our country. They bent the knee to us for the handouts. Now we're just saying, let's make it official. You know what I mean? Like, you're already underneath our economic umbrella.
This is a real revolution, folks. Trump says the economic show Canada will be joining us. And that's manifest destiny. That's you're either expanding or imploding. People try to spin it and go, oh, it's a North American Union deal. That's really what this is. No, this is not. The globalists coming in and getting rid of our country and merging with Mexico and Canada. No, this is the American system expanding. It's still got to be very careful about it. And really what he means is you're going to capitulate and give us good deals and economically be our 51st state, or you will collapse.
Yeah.
Incredible. I mean,
AKA join or die. Join or die, Canada. Pick your poison.
He's giving them an offer they can't refuse. I'm going to come back with more news, more of the press conference. Ian Carroll coming into studio. Man. Then Owen Schroyer in 1 hour and 3 minutes. The War Room. Find the feeds at Real Alex Jones on X. Be sure and follow us there. And I didn't even plug this out.
We got Trumpjamin Franklin saying to Canada, join or die. That's basically what it comes down to. Got a few memes in the chat about MAGA or Maha. We got Maha cat turd style over here. Let's check this one out. Oh, man. AI is wild. Dr. RFK Jr. Oh, man. Here's one from Dre Fans or Memes. POV. RFK Jr. was just confirmed, sorry for the spoiler alert, as HHS secretary, and you went to rummage through the fridge. What happens? Whoop.
Surprise, motherfucker. Surprise, motherfucker.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Tri-Stater. Thanks for sharing that. If you guys don't get the reference, surprise, motherfucker. It's from Dexter, the awesome TV show about a serial killer who works for Miami-Dade Metro as a blood spatter analyst. And there's this moment where somebody is onto him. James Dokes, one of his colleagues at Miami-Dade Metro. And this is the moment that they grab that clip from to edit RFK Jr. onto the head there.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Surprise, motherfucker. Oh, man. And it's been like a legendary meme. Look at this.
Surprise, motherfucker.
First prize, motherfucker. Hard eyes, motherfucker. Rude eyes, motherfucker. Supplies, motherfucker. Some fries, motherfucker. Disguise, motherfucker. Some pies, motherfucker. All rise, motherfucker. Wrong size, motherfucker.
Super size, motherfucker. Snake eyes, motherfucker. I got highs, motherfucker.
All guys, motherfucker. Don't cry, motherfucker. Baptized, motherfucker.
So good. Mama Mac says Dexter's a good show. Did I get you watching Dexter, Mama Mac? Was that one of the ones I recommended to you? Because I recently, last night, started watching Dexter Original Sin, which is a prequel to Dexter, and it's actually really, really good. It's really good. Check it out if you haven't watched that yet. Dexter Original Sin. They got new actors playing the characters as younger. They all are perfect. Angel Batista is like, the dude looks just like him, sounds just like him. Masuka, all the favorite characters coming back. It's so good, man. So good. So let's watch this one more time, this RFK version.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Surprise. I can't even do it. That was hilarious. We got another one. Doge showing up at the IRS building today, Negan style. Yeah.
Little pig, let me in.
Oh, man. So good. So good. And you guys heard me talking about impeachment season. It's time for impeachment season. Impeach all the judges. Well, great minds think alike, and Elon Musk is on the same page over here. Alex Jones posting a screenshot. 87% of X users support impeaching federal judges who obstruct President Trump's reforms. Here's a screenshot of the post. The poll, I sent it to our Discord, encouraged everybody to make your voices heard and vote on the poll. Vote on the poll. Sorry about that, Mama Mac. So here is the story. 87% of X users support impeaching federal judges who obstruct President Trump's reforms. Here's the original poll. I voted yes, as you can see, 86.2%. The poll saying federal judges who repeatedly abuse their authority to obstruct the will of the people via their elected representatives should be impeached. Massive, massive support. That's right. Dark 1000%. Massive support for impeachment season. Impeachment season. Ooh, blood is in the water. It's time. Omega Directive. Good to see you, bro. Hope all is well. Boom. Smelling McGroin, a Commodore. Smelling McGroin. And Dirk, you are a warrant officer, grade 5, Info Guardian, my friend. Warrant officer, grade 5. So, yeah, this is cool. Oh, what does Smellin say? Not only impeach federal judges, but I hear there's a petition going around in Congress to arrest and deport Ilhan Omar. I'm on board. Hilarious. Let's go. But we may not even need to impeach some Threeper, saying impeachment requires 67 votes in the Senate. It's only happened 8 times in all these years to judges. Total shame, Threeper. Total shame. Here we have somebody in the comments. Lieutenant Aldo Rain, veteran, 2 genders, EOD Warrior Foundation Christian Patriot, saying Yale Law Journal describes Article 3. How Articles 2 and 1 apply to Article 3. It explains a judge's conduct for tenure and the removal of a judge for conduct violation. Federal judge can be removed without impeachment and conviction of Congress. That's how I read it anyway. Read it yourselves. I only posted the heading and the conclusion below. So here's this from Yale Law Journal. Removing federal judges without impeachment, October 17th, 2006, from Sai Krishna Prakash and Stephen D. Smith. Behold Judge Jailbird, duly convicted of receiving bribes or tax evasion. The not-so-honorable judge now makes his chambers into a cell. But until Congress manages to impeach and convict him, Judge Jailbird continues to draw his 6-figure salary. Constitutional text, so they're comparing it over here. I haven't read all the way through it yet. I will let you guys check out the link for this and read it. There may be ways, multiple ways, to remove judges without actually impeaching them. So check into it. Look at this. Here's Norm Eisen bragging about his role in getting an activist judge to temporarily rule against Doge. Eisen gets so worked up he starts yelling into the mic around the 2-minute mark. Nervous much? He needs to be investigated ASAP. He's had his clearances removed. He's no longer allowed in federal buildings. Let's check this out. Looks like it could be interesting. Ooh, Lieutenant Aldo Rain replying, I smell fear. Yeah, you should be afraid, scumbags. Your little slush fund operation is over, and we're coming for you. Like Pam Bondi said, we're coming for you.
As the House. Ken Delanian and Lisa Rubin, guys, thank you both very much. And joining us now is Norm Eisen, State Democracy Fund Chair, former Special Counsel and Special Assistant.
It's actually pronounced Norm Eisen is asshole, just for the record.
Assistant to President Obama. He was also an advisor to the impeachment managers during Trump's first impeachment.
Yeah, he was the puppet master, one of the puppet masters organizing all of the impeachments and lawfare.
Norm, it's good to have you with us. What's your reaction to what we're hearing from the president and the vice president about how they see their executive powers?
Threeper, how are you feeling, by the way? Hope you're feeling better, brother. And good to see you this evening.
And I don't think the courts or the American people are going to let the vice president, the president, Mr. Musk, who's an administration official, who's also suggested
Got a story about that whiskey.
that the courts may not need to be followed or judges may need to be unlawfully removed. He said that in one of his tweets earlier today. I don't think they're going to get away with that. What you're seeing is a shock and
This guy looks like a mixture of Beavis and Butthead.
assault on the foundations of our democracy with all of these unconstitutional and illegal actions, and a responding shock and awe by my group and our allies and many others, going to court and securing these orders, stopping them. I won orders last week, the very first case locking Mr. Musk out of the Treasury Department. He has no right to look at that data.
Fuck are you talking about? Of course he does.
Tying the hands of the president, the attorney general, and others who want to dox reveal the identity of 6,000 FBI agents. They don't have any legal right to do that under the Privacy Act and otherwise. We're in court this morning arguing that Donald Trump's birthright citizenship, rewriting the Constitution, he gets to pick and choose who are citizens of the United States. No, we're in a
Academics Denim, good to see you on YouTube. Here he goes yelling, JJR. Thanks for joining us, Academics, brother. Yeah, and picking and choosing. No, the guy who wrote that section of the 14th Amendment straight up said it only applies to people that are within that are subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. So it doesn't apply to illegals.
In a courtroom right now with our allies fighting that, and we filed a brief on behalf of Anna, almost 24 conservatives. Every presidential administration, from Nixon to Trump's first administration, saying, of course, this offer to force federal employees out without the permission of Congress, illegal. So, and that case will be heard today. We've been involved in many of these cases, and they're going to lose.
Well, let me pick up on that last one you just mentioned.
We may lose the battle, Norm, but you will lose the war. Guaranteed. We're not giving up. We're not backing down. You're going to go to jail, bro. I got a feeling. Let's check out this post from Threeper, from Law of Self-Defense, Andrew Branca, over on YouTube. Make sure to check this guy out. He's like pretty much the top Second Amendment expert in the country who does self-defense cases, self-defense shooting cases in every state. I think he's got he's an expert in the Second Amendment laws, firearm laws in all of the states. So this guy's really cool. Here he is. How Trump can remove anti-Doge judge for bad behavior. Thanks, Draper. This sounds really interesting. Let's check some of this out.
A federal judge issued a temporary restraining order preventing anyone from auditing the Treasury Department, including the Treasury Secretary himself. We're all too familiar with the progressive left making political use of friendly federal judges to hand out nationwide injunctions when they lack the legislative power to assert their political will. It seems there's always a helpful Hawaiian judge when the progressive left needs one. The question is, what to do about these unelected judges with supposedly lifetime appointments who seem determined to act as though they possess greater executive branch authority than does the elected president. Impeachment is always an option, but it's a heavy burden, requiring a full 2/3 of the Senate. That supermajority is a stretch, except under the most egregious of circumstances and highly unlikely today. There is, however, an easier way to remove an overreaching judge from the bench. Let's talk about it. I am, of course, attorney Andrew Branca for the Law of Self-Defense. Hey, folks, I want to take just a moment to invite you all to our upcoming...
10 times, Andrew Branca. Got the pronunciation wrong. Sorry about that. Good, sir. Let's skip this little advertisement here and get back into the story. But check out his webinar, February 27th, lawofselfdefense.com/hard to convict. You want to be hard to kill, Steven Seagal style. You also want to be hard to convict. Branca style. Check them
Plenty
out.
of opportunity for Q&A. Best of all, it's 100% free, but we do limit seats to allow for adequate Q&A. So I urge you to grab your seat right now by signing up at lawofselfdefense.com/hard-to-convict. So I don't intend to read through Judge Engelmeyer's TRO with all of you in detail. Plenty of other lawyers on the internet have been doing that. And in any case, it expires at the end of the week and maybe much sooner. I will, of course, include in the description a link to the TRO for those who are interested in reading it. I will say that the TRO strikes me as shady as F on many levels. The timing of the TRO alone must surely raise eyebrows. It was entered around 1 a.m. this past Saturday, when Judge Engelmeyer was serving his turn as an emergency judge, a role that would have been known to the plaintiffs and which therefore suggests judge shopping. By the way, you know who else received an unpleasant court order issued in the middle of the night besides Trump?
Check it out.
The practicing Christians will know. It was Jesus, when the court that would send him to his ultimate crucifixion handed down their conviction in the middle of the night. The irony. In addition, the TRO here was granted ex parte, meaning nobody from the Trump administration was present to have an opportunity to argue against it. And of course, Judge Engelmeyer is an Obama appointee and has known Democrat political inclinations. All of this is enough to create a stench of this being a politically motivated ambush by Judge Engelmeyer at the behest of the anti-Trump officials of the 19 plaintiff states who asked for this TRO. The scope of the TRO is also bizarre, given that it applies to all political appointees, which necessarily includes even President Trump's appointee, Treasury Secretary Bessent, the most senior executive branch officer at the Treasury Department. Even he is prohibited from accessing Treasury Department payment systems. The order also raises constitution-level separation of powers questions. The federal government has, of course, per the Constitution, 3 major branches of government: the legislative branch under Article 1, the executive branch under Article 2, and the judicial branch under Article 3. These are often described as co-equal branches of power, but that phrase can be a little misleading. They are equal only in the sense of each having plenary or ultimate power within their respective realms, unless otherwise constrained by the Constitution. Generally speaking, this means that the legislative branch has the sole power to create law, the executive has the sole power to administer law, and
we just saw the disparity of that with the executive branch issuing 18.5 times as many regulations as legislation actually passed by Congress. Oh my God. We're like, thank fuck that we got Trump and Doge, man. Because we'd be in a really bad position if the evil demon rat, leftist, commie, scumbag, anti-American losers had won this election. They'd be hammering in the final nails.
The judicial branch has the sole power to settle disputes. It also means that each branch is to be largely independent of the other branches within its plenary domain. For example, the judicial branch is not to have the authority to mandate how the executive branch administers the law, which would seem to be precisely what Judge Engelmeyer is doing when he prohibits even the Treasury Secretary from accessing Treasury Department payment systems. Even federal judges have only limited legal authority. Otherwise, the nearly 1,000 federal judges would each be their own unelected black-robed dictators. Certainly, a court order issued by a judge ought to be obeyed, but only if it is a lawful order. For example, if Judge Engelmeyer had ordered Treasury Secretary Bessent to vote for Kamala Harris, no one would reasonably argue that this was a valid...
Did he say Kalama? Did you just call me Kramit?
to vote for Kamala Harris, no one would reasonably argue that this was a valid order that Bessent was legally obliged to obey. An unlawful order is without legal authority or effect and is properly ignored. So it's a real question whether Judge Engelmeyer, obviously a member of the judicial branch, even has the legal authority to issue an order restraining the Treasury Secretary from accessing Treasury Department records, given that accessing these records is a core executive branch privilege and necessary to the executive function. This is, in fact, the very argument that the Trump administration made the moment courts opened on Monday morning following Judge Engelmeyer's 1 a.m. Saturday night TRO, when the Trump administration submitted an emergency motion, a request to the court to dissolve, clarify, or modify Engelmeyer's ex parte TRO. As the Trump motion to dissolve the TRO notes, Judge Engelmeyer's order is, quote, a remarkable intrusion on the executive branch that is in direct conflict with Article 2 of the Constitution. Basic democratic accountability requires that every executive agency's work be supervised by politically accountable leadership who ultimately answer to the president. A federal court consistent with the separation of powers cannot insulate any portion of that work from the specter of political accountability.
Andrew Branca's the man.
No court can issue an injunction that directly severs the clear line of supervision Article 2 requires. Because the order on its face draws an impermissible and anti-constitutional distinction, it should be dissolved immediately. End quote. Yes, exactly correct. And it's not only the Trump administration that's alarmed at Judge Engelmeyer's dark 30 overreach of his judicial authority. Engelmeyer, remember, only issued this TRO because he was taking his turn as the district court's emergency judge on duty Saturday night. The TRO was therefore only to last for 1 week, when the entire matter would be turned over to a non-emergency judge. In this case, that's federal judge Jeanette Vargas, who would take over the case at that time. But Judge Vargas is not waiting until the end of the week to get her hands on this matter. On Monday morning, she immediately issued her own order requiring a meeting of the plaintiffs and the Trump administration that day to attempt to resolve the issues covered in Engelmeyer's TRO. If no agreement is reached, Judge Vargas then orders the plaintiffs, the 19 states that sought the TRO, to respond to Trump's just filed objection no later than 5 p.m. on Monday, the same day, and for Trump's lawyers to respond to that no later than 11 p.m. on Monday. If that seems all a bit quick for a typical court, that's because it is. Judge Vargas seems keenly aware that Judge Engelmeyer's TRO has created an immediate constitutional crisis hot potato that Engelmeyer then tossed directly into her lap. And she...
Yeah, that's the real constitutional crisis going on. 3% says skip ahead to the Article 3 section. Looks like I found it. Let's check it out.
Removed for failing to comply with his constitutionally mandated way to remove the judge. But what if you have a federal judge whose conduct doesn't rise to the level of a high crime or misdemeanor, or you don't believe you can secure 67 votes in the Senate? Is there no way to remove the judge from the bench? In fact, there is, because impeachment is not the only way to remove a judge. A judge can also be removed for failing to comply with his constitutionally mandated conditions of employment. These are found in Article 3, Section 1, which reads, quote, the judges, both of the Supreme and inferior courts, shall hold their offices during good behavior. Note that phrase, shall hold their offices during good behavior. The only reasonable reading of this is that a judge can be removed from the bench for failing to hold their officers during good behavior and instead by having engaged in some official capacity of bad behavior. The first thing I note here is that bad behavior need not be behavior that rises to the level of high crimes and misdemeanors, and indeed should not be read as meaning the same thing. The founders clearly knew how to write the words high crimes and misdemeanors.
Yeah, two totally different standards. Good or bad behavior? High crimes and misdemeanors, two totally different standards.
And if that's the standard they wanted applied in Article 3, Section 1, they simply would have written that instead of writing bad behavior. So there's no need to prove that the judge engaged in some rather reprehensible, intentionally malicious, or shameful conduct necessary to meet the burden of high crimes and misdemeanor. Some lesser degree of misconduct would presumably be sufficient for removal for the failure to be on the bench under good behavior. Now, what might bad behavior look like? Well, judges are required to meet certain expectations in the performance of their duties. Indeed, these expectations are set out by the judiciary itself and can be found in the Code of Conduct for United States judges. I'll put a link to the Code of Conduct in the description, but the headings you can see here are pretty much tell the story. A judge should uphold the integrity and independence of the judiciary. A judge should avoid impropriety and the appearance of impropriety. A judge should perform the duties of the office fairly, impartially, and diligently. By these standards, a judge who, for example, simply stopped showing up to work would be failing to hold their offices during good behavior and could be removed on that basis, which only seems fair enough. So let's say we have a judge who has engaged in bad behavior, but not conduct sufficient for an impeachment. What should be the procedure for removing that judge? Well, impeachment requires proof of high crimes and misdemeanors. And that requires a vote of half the House and 2/3 of the Senate. But bad behavior is misconduct of a much lesser degree. To be found liable for bad behavior is much less shaming than to be found guilty of a high crime or misdemeanor. And just as we require a lesser legal threshold for liability on a speeding ticket than we do for guilt on a felony charge, we should require a lesser legal threshold for liability for bad behavior than we do for high crimes and misdemeanors. I propose that a reasonable threshold for bad behavior removal would be a simple majority vote in both the House and the Senate. That means no supermajority vote of 67 would be required in the Senate to remove a judge from the bench for bad behavior, as would be required for impeachment. Get half the House and a mere 51 in the Senate, or just 50 and the tie-breaking vice president vote, and the judge would be removed for bad behavior. Is it possible that the Republicans could successfully remove Judge Engelmeyer from the bench in this way for some bad behavior? Perhaps failing to uphold the integrity and independence of the judiciary by...
And I can see what you mean, Threeper, who said Article 3 is a Pandora's box, never been used because it will start a tit-for-tat war, tit, between every administration. Yeah, if they can start removing judges with a 51 vote, we got to remove so many judges and arrest so many demon rats that we will never, ever be in a position to lose our own judges in the future. And enough of them have behaved badly and committed enough crimes, the judges and the various, senators and congressmen and everything, that I think we could actually do that. So bust out the handcuffs, the truckloads of handcuffs, and let's get this thing moving, I say.
Acting as a political activist of the progressive left? By engaging in the production of a TRO that fails to avoid impropriety, or at least the appearance of impropriety? By failing to perform his duties fairly, impartially, and diligently? I mean, why didn't the judge even try to contact the Trump administration lawyer for their input in opposition to this TRO, and instead move forward on an ex parte basis, hearing only one side of the argument in the middle of the night?
Sounds like bad behavior to me. Remove.
It's not like a Trump administration lawyer would have been difficult to get a hold of. The Republicans do have a majority of the House and also of the Senate. So it certainly would be possible for them to remove Judge Engelmeyer on the basis of bad behavior, applying the process I just described.
At least they don't have a majority in either of the House or the Senate, though, Threeper, so they wouldn't be able to do anything, at least for now.
But there are two wrinkles to consider. First, although the Article 3 employment conditions on federal judges said they hold their offices during good behavior, and that text has been in the Constitution since its ratification.
Oh, look at that. Skunk giving away a subscription to Common Censored. Trop was gifted a membership. Trop, our newly minted commissioned officer. Boom. Which infantry branch are you, Trop? Let us know in the chat. Are you Info Army? Are you Info Navy? I probably have it written down already. Are you Info Marines? Info Space Force? Info Coast Guard? Info Air Force? Rebel Roustabouts? Redneck Roustabouts? He's Maple Syrup Tulip. Let us know, Trop.
This language has never, not once, been actually applied to remove a judge. The judges that have been removed were removed by impeachment. The process I described for its application of removal for bad behavior would certainly be a reasonable one, but it's never actually been done before. So one would expect the opposition to throw up all kinds of procedural roadblocks, if nothing else. Second, we have to keep in mind those who live by removal for bad behavior also die by removal for bad behavior. And someday the Democrats may again have their own bare majority in the House and the Senate. One of the favorite pastimes of the progressive left these days is to hurl accusations of alleged misconduct at the purportedly conservative members of the Supreme Court. Justice Clarence Thomas is a particularly favorite target, but Gorsuch, Alito, Kavanaugh, and Barrett all get their share of red-faced screaming allegations as well. Does anyone doubt that if the kraken of removal for bad behavior were unleashed on Judge Paul Engelmeyer, that it would in turn be unleashed on Thomas, Gorsuch, Alito, Kavanaugh, and Barrett, and any other federal judges who didn't rule in the progressive way when the progressives were, again, transiently in the majority in Congress? And if it were applied in that way, would the conservatives have much basis to object after having done just that to Engelmeyer? Something to think about, I think.
Something to think about. Thanks again, Skunk71. Dropping another membership over on Dirk Gently. Dirk, that just bumped you up to commissioned officer level. But the bad news is, in order to stay the commissioned officer level without, sharing more, etc., you're going to have to maintain that membership. Thanks, Skunk. Appreciate you.
Perhaps removal for bad behavior should not be our first choice, when really what's at stake here is just a temporary restraining order that expires at the end of the week, and maybe, if Judge Vargas has her way, well before then. And that's about all I have to say about that. I'll close out by reminding all of you that if you carry a gun so you're hard to kill, that's why I carry a gun so I'm hard to kill, so my family is hard to kill, then you also owe it to yourself and your family to know the law, so you're hard to convict as well. Until next time, I remain Attorney Andrew Branca at lawofselfdefense.com. Stay safe.
Boom. Thanks, The Reaper. That was really enlightening information there. Good to know. Bad behavior, I think, would be constituted by holding a 2:30 a.m. hearing and not letting Republicans have a voice. Sounds like a bad behavior to me. Oh, no, it's all good, Dirk. It's all good. No stress, brother. Enjoy being a commissioned officer. Let's see what we got next from Academics Denim. Shared this over on our Discord. Truth. Let's see what's going on here. You are all watching a movie. We caught them all. U.S. Marshals handcuffs exposing the corruption. What's happening here? What was going on there? I have no idea what's happening here. Just one dude, then there was Mitch and his wife, no cuffs. What is happening? If you have more details, let us know. Academics Denim. Appreciate you, brother. We also have this that was shared in chat. Federal prosecutors in New York and Washington resign after refusing to drop Mayor Eric Adams' charges. At least 6 prosecutors, one of the acting U.S. attorney, including the acting U.S. attorney in Manhattan, have stepped down over the DOJ order to dismiss corruption charges against New York Mayor Eric Adams. That's right. We predicted that if he played ball with Trump, that they would drop his charges. Of course, after he initially spoke out against immigration problems that were going on over in New York, immediately federal charges were dropped against him, or were levied against him, I should say. So interesting stuff. The resignations amount to a stunning public rebuke of the Trump administration's new Justice Department leadership in one of the country's highest profile criminal cases. Or it's a stunning display of subordinates in the executive branch refusing to carry out the policies of the executive branch, but this is NBC's ASHO news, so of course they're going to spin it that way. Prosecutors resigned after Emil Bove, the acting U.S. Deputy Attorney General, issued a memo Monday ordering federal prosecutors in New York to drop the case against Adams, arguing in part that it hampered his ability to tackle, quote, illegal immigration and violent crime. Good stuff. He earned it, in my opinion, man. He's allowing ICE to operate on Rikers and stuff now. In other immigration-related news, Tri-Stater just shared this in chat just in. Tom Homan says AOC, quote, can be in trouble after she posted videos instructing criminal illegals how to invade ICE. Oh, man. AOC, that's her, as we call her, Alexandria occasional cortex. Seems like she was not thinking with her, her cortex in this circumstance. This was a stupid move, AOC. So maybe AOC is going to be in trouble now. Let's take a listen. Thanks for sharing, Tri-Stater.
But, Tom, you got AOC out there, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman, putting out a webinar, doing a webinar to help illegals avoid, I guess, apprehension, giving tips about how to continue to remain in the country and ultimately game the system.
And I sent an email today to the Deputy Attorney General. At what level is that impediment? Is that impediment? I'm not an attorney. I'm not a prosecutor. Is that impediment? Is that impeding our law enforcement efforts? If so, what are we going to do about it?
Yeah, it sounds like it to me. Here's how to circumvent the law enforcement efforts. That sounds like impeding the law enforcement efforts. 100%.
She's crossing the line. So I'm working with the Department of Justice and finding out where is that line that they cross. So maybe AOC is going to be in trouble now, but I need the AOG to opine on that. But because there's impediment is impediment, in my opinion. I'm not a prosecutor, but we need some further guidance on that. But again, if we have to take every federal dollar out of the city, we'll do it. I mean, we're done. This is about public safety. This is about community safety. Knowingly releasing a public safety back in the public is just stupid. You're putting the public at great risk. You're putting our officers at great risk. You're even putting the illegal alien at great risk because anything can happen on arrest on the street. So we just want to make common sense. In sanctuary cities, they want to step aside. Step aside. We're coming. We're going to do it for you. If you don't want to make your community safer, President Trump's going to.
Right. It's like a gift, man. Step back and let them clean up the city for you. We're gift wrapping this.
Well, and everyone, blue cities across America, get ready. Tom, as always, thank you. All right, Democrats.
Boom, Tom Homan. How about this one? Trump making good progress, big progress with Hitler Putin over in Russia.
Cusp of probably working out his greatest peace deal yet, which is to broker peace between Ukraine and Russia.
President Trump has just spoken with Russian President Putin, and some details come directly from the president. He has just put out on his Truth Social, and so it's everywhere now.
Rachel!
That they discussed Ukraine, the Middle East, energy, artificial intelligence, and the dollar. He also revealed the two agreed to visit each other's countries. He said, I had a lengthy and highly productive phone call with President Vladimir Putin of Russia. I just read what he said they talked about. We both reflected on the great history of our nations and the fact that we fought so successfully together in World War II, remembering that Russia lost tens of millions of people, as we likewise lost so many. We each talked about the strengths of our respective nations and the great benefit that we will someday have in working together. But first, as we both agreed, so this is Trump posting about his recent call just moments ago with Putin. He said, but first, as we both agreed, we want to stop the millions of deaths taking place in the war with Russia and Ukraine. President Putin even used my very strong campaign motto of common sense. We both believe very strongly in it. We agreed to work together very closely, including
After having named this show Common Censored, based on Thomas Paine's Common Sense, you can pick up our copy on Amazon, and as well as the eponymous title, Common Censored, where we redacted the whole thing. It just makes me happy that Trump is talking about common sense, because that's what it's all about, man. It really is.
Including visiting each other's nations.
Channel 2 Action News.
To our respective terms, starting negotiations immediately. And we will begin by calling President Zelensky of Ukraine to inform him of the conversation, something which I will be doing right now. So this is playing out contemporaneously as we're here live on Outnumbered. I have asked Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Director of CIA John Radcliffe, National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, and Ambassador and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to lead the negotiations, which I feel strongly about.
Uh-oh. Channel 2 Action News. Toin in the chat, people. I live you too, Channel 2 Action News. Channel 2 saying live you at Common Censored. Thanks so much, Channel 2 Action News. Hope you enjoyed that book, by the way. Let me know what you think.
Will be successful. Millions of people have died in a war that would have not happened if I were president, but it did happen, so it must end. No more lives should be lost, President Trump writes. I want to thank President Putin for his time and effort with respect to this call, and for the release yesterday of Mark Fogel, a wonderful man that I personally greeted last night at the White House. I believe this effort will lead to a successful conclusion, hopefully soon. The President of the United States.
Yeah, so you see, now you heard that. Now, the mainstream liberal media and the neocons and the neoliberal Democrats, they will be up in arms, right? Upset.
Back at you, brother.
Torn up, right? Devastated.
I love cannabis.
Over the idea of the President of the United States having a good relationship with the President of Russia, right? Because that's what it sounds like is what's happening. It seems as if President Trump and Vladimir Putin, they are ready to establish a better relationship. President Trump is going to go to Russia, apparently, and Putin is going to come here. And I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing, right? Some people see it as a bad thing.
A massively good thing. We need to be focusing our efforts to draw Russia away from China so that they can't create a massive block of power to be used against us. We need to be good friends with Russia. We need to be really, really good friends with Russia. With their resources, our resources, we can combine forces and do a lot of good. a lot of good, empower a lot of people, provide things that the world needs. That's right. That's right. That's right, cannabis connoisseur. Cannabis is a gateway drug to gardening. What's your style of gardening? Do you use soil? Do you use hydro, DWC, RDWC? Let me know, cannabis connoisseur.
Fight the Cold War anymore. Okay.
I like that recirculating deep water culture personally.
Hey, I think that we need to be concerned about China. China is who we really need to be concerned about. Russia is like a little side thing, right? I think we're better off trying to work with Russia than to always be openly antagonizing them, okay?
Yep, 100%. Greg Foreman nailed it. War clandestine on X saying, wow, Trump just accused Biden of starting the war in Ukraine. For decades, Russia has been clear that NATO membership for Ukraine was a hard red line. Yet Biden pushed for membership anyway, provoking Russia. It's exactly what we've been saying. They've just been poking the bear, poking the bear, poking the bear. The deep state are responsible for this war, not Russia. Yeah, you can't blame Russia for going in there to try to defend the ethnic Russians that are being murdered in the Donbass region. Mama Mac gifted a membership by Skunk. Skunk, thanks so much for supporting the show and for hooking up Mama Mac. We love Mama Mac. She is indeed the sweetest. Channel 2 Action News. That's right. Let's check out this clip from Trump calling out Biden.
Yesterday were pretty accurate. I don't see any way that a country in Russia's position could allow them, just in their position, could allow them to join NATO. I don't see that happening. And long before President Putin, Russia was very strong on the fact that I believe that's the reason the war started. Because Biden went out and said that they could join NATO, and he shouldn't have said that. As soon as he said that, I said, you know what? You're going to have a war now, and I was right about that. This is a war that would have never happened if I were president.
But you don't think it's President Biden's fault, not President Putin? I mean, he's the one.
I think Biden is incompetent, and I think when he said that they could join NATO, I thought that was a very stupid thing to say. I thought when he said, well, it depends if it's a minor incursion. In other words, it's okay if Russia does a minor incursion. I thought that was a very foolish thing to say. Yesterday.
Very foolish. It's obvious. It was intentional. Anybody who understood the context knew that that was exactly the intention, to draw Russia into a war. Listen to that 10-minute video from Jeffrey Sachs breaking down all the details of how Putin was trying to join NATO repeatedly in the 90s, and they were sabotaged over and over and over again. So here's Trump's post about it. Russell Brand saying, whoa, man, President Trump has had a phone call with President Vladimir Hitler Putin, and there's a plan to forming to end the war in Ukraine. The world is changing fast, mate. So here it is. I think this is awesome. We both believe very strongly in it, in the common sense. We agreed to work together very closely, including visiting each other's nations. That's right. We need to work closely with Russia. We need it. It's the best thing for everybody around the world if we are friends with Russia and not enemies. And we don't want them in bed with China any more than they have to be. So they came up with terms here, and then Trump is calling Zelensky to inform him, which is hilarious. I like that he's negotiating with Putin and not, first, and then just telling Zelensky what's up. Because fuck Zelensky. Fuck these people. The Ukrainian government is just the puppet of Victoria Nuland, in my opinion. Here we have George B. Hizzy, at B. Hizzy tweets, posting a clip about this as well. Breaking, President Trump says Ukraine has agreed to repay the aid by giving the United States $500 billion in rare earth minerals. This is really, really good news. Turning a loss into a big win. Big win.
Ukraine, though, you think you can get a deal? Do you keep sending American weapons until you do?
No, what I'm saying is the following. They have tremendously valuable land in terms of rare earth, in terms of oil and gas, in terms of other things. I want to have our money secured because we're spending hundreds of billions of dollars. And, they may make a deal, they may not make a deal, they may be Russian someday, or they may not be Russian someday, but we're going to have all this money in there, and I say I want it back. And I told them that I want the equivalent, like $500 billion worth of rare earth And they've essentially agreed to do that. So at least we don't feel stupid. Otherwise, we're stupid. I said to them, we have to get something. We can't continue to pay this money.
Ukraine, though.
They may be Russian someday. They maybe won't be Russian someday. Oh, man. Just give Ukraine back to Russia. That's what I'm saying, man. The Reaper. Comment censored by the by. We haven't gotten an update on Vicky Newland in a bit. Wonder if Trump fired her. Mustafa style. Oh, I'm still alive. I'm just very badly burned. That'd be the preferable type of firing, in my opinion. After due process, of course. FBI's ass, so fuck you. How about this one? Brianna Morello, President Trump believes the war in Ukraine may soon end. Before Joe Biden was leaving the White House, he rushed to send Ukraine, quote, aid. How much of it made it to Ukraine? Trump saying, great talks with Russia and Ukraine yesterday. Good possibility of ending that horrible, very bloody war. Hope so, man. Hope so. So, good news over on the Ukraine-Russia front over there. Let's jump into this next clip from the Jones-Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen interview, where they break down some really good ideas for the upcoming, or for the Trump administration. And they're going to talk a little bit first about the Writers Award from DOD for large-scale social deception.
Criminal defense attorneys for government employees. I mean, this is the point of maximum danger, though, because this is when some of them are just going to go crazy.
Yeah, well, it's
like cornered animals.
It's a different culture. We are being led by people with a very different value set. I was watching Tim Pool last night. He had a guest on. Seemed like a nice guy, but he's from a DC think tank, and you can just tell he thinks about the world in a very different way. And when exposed with the extent of this government corruption, it's like, well, part of it is these are really good people that are trying to protect their country and they're trying to like defend our democracy overseas. And here's the deal. It's like they've created this Ouroboros, this like massive snake eating its own tail of a machine that's willing to undermine democracy in order to protect us from fake threats to democracy. It's like we have nothing but an upside with Russia. Like they're undermining our dollar with the BRICS. They have a lot of energy. It's like it really isn't like one of our biggest victories is the fact that we were able to collapse the Soviet Union. And here we turned them into our biggest geopolitical foe. And that was neoconservatism, which was like literally a tool used to further the grift. So with one tweet, with one phone call to Putin, with one tweet, Trump has been able to reverse course on that. And the people just can't keep up with it. Like, and so I don't know. I think we'll see. It's like Twitter is not an echo chamber. There's a lot of information changing hands real fast. There is alignment and a control of narratives on Twitter, but it's too much. It's too much for the American voter to keep up on. And it would be an awful shame if something captured the zeitgeist that was out of the control of the Trump administration. And so I think they should be proactive, not just Elon tweeting this stuff, but really getting out there and maybe doing weekly, addresses to the nation where Trump goes over this and shows charts and people. And I'll tell you what,
and they're already doing it, but like yesterday's 2-hour fireside chat, they need to put big jumbo TVs in. Elon can go in and do a PowerPoint with Trump, and then they can discuss it for an hour and then take an hour of questions, and it'll have 1 billion viewers. And this is what I told Elon and Trump right after they had the billion listeners on X. I said, you got to go set up cameras and do this with video. It'll have 2 billion. And literally, Trump's been told this by Barron, all of them. Why are you going on CNN? Why are you, nothing against Fox, but come on. They have tiny audiences, and all the White House has to do, and I already see the press secretary doing it, is go multimedia. It's so easy. A team of 5 people can set it up every night or once a week, and it will dominate. It will dominate.
Yes.
Yeah, anything that's not old guard. Like Fox is great, but what blew my mind is the very first night after the USAID news came out, like Jesse Waters, great, I love his show, but the guest he had on to talk about the USAID scandal was Kevin McCarthy. And his first question to Kevin McCarthy was not, did you know about this for decades? It was not, hey, are you on the board of one of these organizations that's getting money from USAID? So I think legacy media is dead. And listen, Trump's a showman. And I say this completely 100% without jest. Where is the Doge Prentice? Where is the highly produced apprentice show that airs on a primetime network, which is literally humanizing the Doge team?
And he calls in the different agency heads and rewards some and fires others. Yeah.
Exactly.
This is reality. Truth is greater than fiction. Cool. This is the greatest show on earth for real.
This is literally a turning point in the future of America, the shining gem of representative democracy in the world, like literally in the world. And it's changed this year in a way I don't think anybody predicted. And it's going to get, I'll tell you, it's going to get dire, because if the Democrat Party doesn't reform, and if somehow they regain capture power of DC, like the pendulum is going to be swung back very, very, very far and very fast.
Oh, yeah. In fact, we'll play it in a moment. Pull up the bald-headed lady that looks like a Klingon, the congresswoman, saying, I'm serious about censorship, and I know those groups won't do it. Well, you get with me. We'll censor the Americans. Did you see that?
Yeah. Yeah, they're insane.
You said it.
There's no half fix to this. It needs to be completely fixed. These literally evil kleptocrats need to be rooted out, and the earth needs to be salted. And by that, I mean there needs to be strict accountability measures and independent oversight and a way to keep our federal government working for the interests of the Americans. And that sounds like a really freaking hard problem. Like, I do not
stay
know
right there. Do 50 more minutes with us, but I'm sorry. She doesn't look like a Klingon. Put her back up. She's literally wearing a Darth Vader outfit without the Darth Vader helmet. And she's saying, I know there's groups want to censor the American people. Get with me. I want to censor the people, which is in this Pentagon document, funding Reuters to, quote, deceive the American people. Mass deception operations. Stay right there. Mark Mitchell, Mark_R_Mitchell, RasmussenReports.com. We're going to come right back and hit some of his other polling numbers that puts the pulse on the second American Revolution worldwide. And like Elon said, America goes down, the rest of the world goes down, but we're going to save it. Boy, they got it's worse.
Yep. And you know what I realized, Dirk? You were at the top warrant officer, Info Guardian level. So even if you don't renew your membership, you're now a commissioned officer perpetually at this point. So congratulations to you, and thanks for your continued support of the show. And I posted this full interview yesterday over on greatawakening.win. And it got pinned at the top of the website. And one of the moderators over there says, my first Alex Jones sticky ever. I'm not an Alex Jones listener, but I feel this is a great worthy video to share, or to what Mark Mitchell solidly presents going on media-wise between the media, Trump policies, and the sudden next section of mass awakening of people across normies on social media. They said the word a precipice multiple times regarding the majority of U.S. society versus the media versus the government. A lot of good red pills in this podcast, and I agree entirely. So I'm going to share this right into the chat for you guys, so you have the link to the full interview. We also have the cannabis connoisseur Tyne in the chat. People, thanks so much, cannabis connoisseur. Rumble ranting $25 onto the show. Really appreciate you. Big ups from CT. Loved hearing about those epic harvests you got going on over there. Says, great show. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. Appreciate it bigly. How about this story? I bet you guys didn't see this coming. Historian claims DNA identifies Jack the Ripper. Historian Russell Edwards claims to have identified Jack the Ripper as Aaron Kosminski, a Polish barber long suspected of the crimes following a DNA match from a shawl allegedly found at the scene of one of the murders in 1888. This claim, if verified, would solve one of history's most enduring mysteries, though it remains controversial among scholars and criminologists who question the validity of the DNA evidence. I saw a really cool show. It was called like Jack the Ripper in America, and it seemingly documented a series of murders in the U.S. that began right after the European Jack the Ripper kills stopped, that showed similar traits. So did this guy move to America at some point? Because if so, then that may make a lot of sense. AF Post saying Aaron Kosminski, a Polish Jew, named as Jack the Ripper after DNA matches that of his descendants. Wow. Jack the Ripper has been identified. Historian Russell Edwards says he has identified Jack the Ripper as Aaron Kosminski, via a DNA match taken from a shawl purported to be at the scene of one of the murders. Very interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting. So we're going to have to follow up on this, see what ends up happening as a result of this. Still an unconfirmed claim. So yeah, it's not confirmed yet, but the evidence is looking pretty good. Pretty good. Thanks again for supporting the show so epically tonight, guys. I really appreciate you. Let's see what we got next. Just some stuff about the Reuters large-scale deception operation. Jimmy Dore saying over here, yep, but for some reason, lots of people are opposed to uncovering this sort of corruption, and our government paying media outlets to brainwash U.S. citizens. Reposting a screenshot from Edward Dowd talking about the DOD award to Reuters, giving that, for active social engineering and large-scale deception. Apparently, it was granted right before the COVID scenario and ended after the vaccination campaign. Large-scale social deception, potentially about the safe and effective vaccines, maybe to convince you just that. Likely proof of a vast psychological COVID and jib-jab manipulation campaign. Obviously, many more payments like these. DOD ran this like a military propaganda campaign on its own people. Evil. Evil. And we're still on YouTube, so why don't we go ahead and terminate the YouTube feed right now. Academics, come join us over on Rumble, brother. If you guys can't make it from YouTube, sorry to have to ditch you. But we'll be back tomorrow night for our Friday edition of Comment Censored. Until then, let's get ready to